Alright guys, I wanted to make a short video. This is for 6th graders, introducing Autodesk Inventor to them for the first time. So the first thing you want to do, you want to get Autodesk Inventor pulled up. When you double click on the software, it takes a little bit for it to load. Please just double click it, let it load. It takes a bit of time, but if you keep clicking it, you open up a bunch of different tabs in the software. It takes even longer to actually get started. When it finally loads up, your home screen is going to look something like this. There's a couple different things you can click on. You can do a new part, new assembly, a new drawing, or a new presentation. If your projects look a little bit different, that's fine. I have a bunch of different projects, obviously for my 7th and 8th graders, so your projects might look different. The recent documents are also going to be listed below. These are going to look different on your screen simply because depending on the computer you're working on, depending on the other grade levels that are potentially sitting in your assigned seat, you're going to see some different work. These are a couple of the examples that I'm going through in grading currently, but yours will look a little bit different. So first thing we want to do is click on New Part, and while that is loading up, and sometimes it'll say not responding. Just give it a minute. Let's see here. So down here you're going to see that it's loading. Again, it takes a little bit of time. Just be patient. At this point with our class, we have discussed a little bit about orthographic and isometric drawing. There we go. We are all loaded. So it should just say part 1 on your screen. I guess I overclicked. So we got 2 parts. So we can go ahead. We're going to exit this one. Alright, so we got part 1. So the very first thing when you see on your screen, it can be a little intimidating because there's a whole bunch of different things to click on. We're going to start off really simple today, taking a look at beginning with Autodesk Inventor. So we're going to go ahead and start a 2D sketch. So when you start a 2D sketch, there's 3 different things, or 3 different planes you can click on. We have our XY plane, our YZ plane, and our XZ plane. These 3 planes come from the fact that this software is able to make 3-dimensional objects, very similar to when you are sketching or drawing in math class and you're on an XY axis. When you're drawing, that's 2-dimensional. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start a 2D sketch on our X and Y plane. So when we start on that plane, today's activity is making a small prototype. It's a cube, and then my 6th graders like to call it a little nub that comes out of one of the sides. So we're going to start making our cube with rectangle. So if you drop down from rectangle, you're going to notice there's a whole different whole lot of things to choose from. We're just going to do rectangle 2-point. You're going to take your cursor and put it at the origin. When your mouse lines up at the origin, you can click and then you drag out. Okay, and release your hand. This is usually where my 6th graders get the most confused because they go ahead and they click again. Okay, if you click again, your dimensions are stuck there unless you go back in and click dimension, actually edit that. But the easiest thing to do, at least I think, for 6th grade, is that when you click on your 2-point rectangle, bring in the origin, you click and drag out, just pick up your hand. Okay, when you pick up your hand, do not click again. These dimensions are actually editable. Okay, so if I want to make a square before I can make a cube, because obviously a square is 2-dimensional, and make sure that my length and my width are the same. So one way you could do that is you could try to take your cursor and drag it so that those 2 numbers are the same, but that's a big waste of time. Okay, a better way to do it would be to actually type in your dimensions. So I'm going to say 2 inches. I'm going to hit the tab key on my keyboard. So I move over to the other dimension and I say 2 inches. And I hit enter or return depending on the keyboard you have. The little scroller on your mouse, you can move in and out of the drawing that you just started, or you can take your little hand and move this over. Okay, And I, so far, am ready with my square. So I'm going to say awesome. I'm going to finish up my sketch. And again, you can use that scroller and move in and out. Cool. So next part of this, hey, Miss Vogel, this is not completed because all we have is a square. We need a cube. So we're going to go ahead and go over to extrude. So this is under 3D modeling. Again, I want to make my 2D sketch into a 3D model, so I'm going to click on my extrude button. You're going to notice if I take this and I turn it in all directions, we're not a cube. He's a little bit too thin, he's a little bit squished. That's because if I am a cube, I am equal length, width, and height. I want to go ahead and edit this distance to be just like my length and my width, 2 inches, and press OK. Alright? So within less than 5 minutes, you have used mechanical engineering software and you have made a cube, which is really, really cool for being 11, 12, 13 years old. Right? Last thing we want to do, I'm going to go into Sketch, and I want to put a circle on one of my sides. So I'm going to pick the top, just because that's the first thing I'm looking at. I want to make sure I can see all of this. Alright, and on your circle, try to get as close as you can to the center. You want to click, and you're going to drag out. You want this dimension to be 1 inch. Press enter. Okay? I need to make sure that to have this circle centered, I'm going to go into dimension. I'm going to check the dimension to the center of my circle. That is 0.916. I'm going to change that to 1 inch. Notice my circle moves automatically. I'm going to take this dimension from this edge, center my circle, that is 0.992. Click again, change that, 1 inch, green check. Awesome, that is directly in the center. I'm going to finish up my sketch. I can then, 6th grader's favorite part, extrude, circle. Okay, if I back out, this looks ridiculous. This looks nothing like the prototype I came and walked around the classroom with. You're going to change this, 0.5 inches. That looks more like it. Press OK. And you have the prototype that I showed in class. Okay, so that is 6th grade, our introduction, day 1, how to make a little cube prototype. If you have any other questions, any other concerns, please let me know. You can email me, my school email. But I hope you had fun as a 6th grader using Autodesk for the first time. Last thing you want to do, you're going to get this saved. So go into File and Export as an image. Okay, basically this is going to take a screenshot of however your prototype looks. So I would highly recommend putting it into a position where it looks nice, looks pretty, you have it how you want it to look. I think that looks great. I'm going to go into 6th grade, and I can call this 6th grade cube prototype. I'm going to change my save as type to a JPEG. There we go. And then click save. So when you save that to a JPEG, it's a whole lot easier to upload onto Google Classroom. And then when I'm going through in Google Classroom and I'm clicking on our assignment, I can see everybody's pictures really, really quickly. I know that everybody knew how to create the prototype, and then we can move on from there. If for some reason you need to save this beyond just a picture, you can go into File and Save As. Same thing. So 6th grade cube prototype. It's no longer a JPEG because it's an IPT file. And then I can go into save. We'll get more into IPT files and project paths later on this rotation, and especially in 7th grade. But that is your intro. All right.